I started meditating about 30 years ago. I learned my first meditation techniques from my first martial arts teacher. So the single pointed mind meditation technique is a very powerful concentration technique for meditation. And it involves concentrating on particular chakras. And the chakras are energy centers in our energy body. Not only do you develop concentration and the ability to hold your mind still, but once you become adept at this particular meditation technique on the chakras, you can raise the Kundalini energy. And the Kundalini energy is a very powerful energy of transformation.
And we're back with day 13 of the 30 days to raise your frequency. I'm your host, Rob Zaremba, and welcome to the group. If you're a new member to the group, what we're doing right now is a 30-day meditation challenge. It's 30 days to raise your frequency. This is day 13. We've been doing 30-day meditation challenges in this group ever since I started the group way back in 2016. And the reason for that is because from my experience of meditation for over 30 years, it's a good idea to practice meditation every day or on a regular basis as much as you can. And just like you master any art form or any skill, meditation is no different. It takes consistent, regular practice to master any sort of technique. So what we'll be doing momentarily here is a meditation technique based on single-pointed mind meditation. Single-pointed mind meditation or single-pointed mind concentration is when we take our attention, we take our awareness, and we focus it on one point. And when we focus it on one point, we want to exclude all other distractions. We want to exclude all other interruptions. And we've got some members checking in. What's up, Ashley? Good to see you, brother. All right. Yeah, everything's going good. It's Saturday. Who'd have thunk it? I barely know what day it is right now. So, single-pointed mind. What does it do, and why should we bother? Well, good questions. What it does is it takes our attention and brings it to one particular object of focus. That particular object could be feeling a chakra. It could be repeating and listening to a mantra. It could be a visual focus on a candle flame. It could be a visual focus on a yantra. There's many places we can place our attention on. There's many objects you can choose to place your attention on. So the technique is very simple. You simply place your attention on an object and hold it there. And when the mind wanders, which it tends to do, you simply bring your attention back to that object. And what this does, every time it wanders, you bring it back. And every time you bring it back, you're commanding your attention with your willpower. It's kind of like doing a rep when you're training with weights. When you do a repetition, or when you repeat something over and over, whether you're practicing your scales on a piano, or practicing your scales on a guitar, or your vocal warm-ups, or your dance routine, when you continually practice the same thing over and over again, this is a repetition, a rep. So every time you bring your mind back to that point, you are exercising your willpower, and this makes it very strong. And then when you can hold it there for a prolonged period of time without letting it wander, you're also exercising your willpower to hold the mind still on the object of focus. So that's single-pointed mind concentration or meditation in a nutshell. So we implement the single-pointed mind. Now what it also does is it allows us to overcome these tendencies that our mind has, the tendency, the habit to wander to drift off into daydream, to think extraneous thoughts, to constantly have that internal dialogue chattering away, narrating everything we do, or thinking about other things that have nothing to do with the present moment. So with the single-pointed mind technique, when you're holding your mind on an object, you are, to the best of your ability, holding your attention in the present moment. Because what is the present moment? Here and now, right? But what does all that mean? And how can we be sure that we're holding it in the present moment? Well, in the particular technique that I'm about to show you here in the 5 steps to stillness, when we place our attention on a chakra, we want to feel the chakra. So what does it mean to feel? It's kind of, so what is the chakras, first of all? I know I need to define all these things for some of you who are new. We have an energy body, and the energy body surrounds the physical body. This is very well known in the ancient yogic sciences from India, from Tibet. Within the energy body, there are chakras, there are energy channels, there are meridians that run all over. It's kind of like the complex system of our cardiovascular system within our physical bodies, in that we have a blood flow system, we have a heart that pumps the blood, etc., etc. We have all these different sort of components and systems within the body. Very similarly, we have a lot of different components and systems within our energy body. So the various chakras, so the way that the energy body kind of looks on an anatomic level, on an energetic anatomic level, is that there's a main central channel. The main central channel is called the Sushumna, and it runs from the base of the spine, the area corresponding to around the physical body at the base of the spine, all the way up to the center of the forehead. The Sushumna actually ends at the third eye chakra. Alongside that, you have what's called the Ida and the Pingala. These are like secondary channels. So you have the main central channel. And in the main central channel, that's where it connects the first 6 chakras, from the root, sex, navel, heart, throat, and third eye. Now above that, we have the crown center. So the crown center, you've probably heard of the crown chakra, the 1,000-petal lotus of light. This particular chakra is not necessarily activated through willpower. It becomes open when we become spiritually mature, when our kundalini is able to rise up. What's this kundalini all about? I've heard of kundalini. Is that dangerous? Well, let's see. I like to live dangerously. I don't know about you. No. I know there's a lot of people on here that are at various levels of meditation. I joke and I kid a lot. There's nothing to be concerned about with kundalini. The only time kundalini energy can be concerned about, or where you should be concerned about it, is if it's abruptly released unnaturally through psychedelic drugs. Sometimes people take things like LSD, mushrooms. I'm not advocating this. But these psychedelic drugs can absolutely release kundalini and raise it to the higher chakras without us being prepared for it. And that can be dangerous only because it can blast you into higher states of consciousness that you're not necessarily ready to be blasted into. But when we meditate, we don't really raise the kundalini. The kundalini raises itself. We simply focus on a chakra. So let's say we're focusing on the heart chakra. When we focus on our heart chakra and we're feeling that spot, the kundalini will actually gradually rise up. Kind of like mercury comes up through a thermometer. You can kind of visualize that. And you might feel this sensation of a cool, warm, or tingling sensation rising up in the body. And it'll meet where your attention is focused. And this is a very natural, gradual, and safe way for the kundalini to be released. And I can tell you 100% that the kundalini is safe. It's not something that will be released until you're ready. Because if you're not really focusing with intensity, if you haven't opened up your channels, the kundalini will just lie dormant. The Kundalini is the energy of life. It's the energy that animates all of life. Oftentimes we hear words and we hear that they're associated with certain things like dangerous experience, avoid the Kundalini, and all this other stuff. I have never been one to listen to anyone except my own experience. Now, of course, I've listened to teachers, I've listened to masters, because teachers who have demonstrated a certain level of experience, who have demonstrated a certain level of expertise, masters who have mastered certain levels of meditation, those are the people you should listen to. So be careful who you listen to. There's a lot of flakes out there, and there's a lot of people who claim to know what meditation's all about, and this and that. Always use your intuition. Always kind of filter someone through how you feel about what they're saying. Filter it through your own judgment, your own experience. So if you feel like someone's a flake, then I would probably avoid them. Okay, so it's very important to be discerning. Discernment is different from judgment. Judgment is sort of a blank, well, I'm just judging you based on how you look or what you said without really knowing what you're talking about, so I'm just going to judge you. Discernment is different. Discernment is a higher form of judgment where we use our own wisdom, our own knowledge and intuition to kind of make a call. You know, is this, number one, right for me? Is this guy know what he's talking about? This kind of thing. And this is why I've always come on here and told you, don't listen to me. Don't listen to what I say. Just watch the meditation. And when you watch the meditation, if you don't see a transformation, if you don't see, you know, the teacher or the guide or the meditator demonstrating the meditation with a certain degree of proficiency and a certain degree of skill level and expertise, then you probably shouldn't listen to this person talking about meditation. This is why I always come on here. I put myself out here with a live video just to prove to you guys that, you know, you can trust me. I know what I'm talking about. So when it comes to the Kundalini energy, don't be afraid. The Kundalini is your friend. In fact, it's everything. It's the energy that animates all of life. Without it, you'd be dead. So it's just a word. It's a word for this energy that comes up. The Kundalini is said to be like a serpent, symbolically like a serpent, in that it lies coiled in the root chakra. And it's only activated when you stop your thoughts. It's only activated during times of extreme stress, like the old lady who sees the grandchild trapped under the car, and for some miraculous reason she's able to lift the car up and get the baby out. You know, whereas normally she can't barely lift 20 pounds of weight without hurting her back. So the Kundalini can cause miracles, and it certainly does. I studied with a master that could perform miracles. You might call it a miracle. They're also known as Siddha powers. Siddha powers are the yogic powers that are developed when the Kundalini is at your disposal. But we're not necessarily concerned about that right now. Maybe later. Be fun. But what we're concerned about right now is raising our frequency. So what is actually going on to raise our frequency? Well, I talked about the energy body. I talked about the chakra system. When the Kundalini rises, the Kundalini energizes your energy body. And energy, when it rises up, it becomes, the Kundalini energy actually moves up the chakra system. These chakras are related to stages of life. The lower chakras are related to survival, power, reproduction. They're very raw, physical sensations of life. And as the Kundalini moves up the chakra system, it transmutes, it transforms. Each chakra is a transformer station in that it refines, it purifies, it transmutes the energy as it moves up into the higher chakras, awakening those higher planes of attention, the higher consciousness. This is the high frequency. Higher consciousness is on a higher frequency. So if you want to talk physics, everything has a frequency. Everything is energy. Everything is made up of something, right? You know? And even physics agrees, and science agrees, that there's really nothing that's solid. It just appears solid to our senses. Because I'm touching my arm right now, it appears that I can't move through it. That's just because I'm using the sense of touch. But if I use, I'm using another similarly vibrating object to try to penetrate a similarly vibrating object. They're at the same frequency, so it doesn't work. But if I take my mind, which is more subtle, it's pure awareness. If I take my attention and I want to move it through my arm, well, certainly it can do that. It's just we've forgotten about all this. We've just got caught up in the physical. And those that seek meditation seek to move, seek to remember, seek to regain the truth. The truth is, we're multidimensional beings, but most of us have been so compressed and compacted and contracted back into the body that it's like, we're stuck. This is what we seek to relieve and alleviate. Through the process of meditation, slowly, we move from concentration to consciousness. We move from our senses to our non-physical senses. So we've got the 5 senses, right? Now, they're pretty powerful. Our eyes, extremely powerful. We can use them to look around. This is why we start with the yantra. Now, I love the yantra. We start with the yantra. The 5 steps to stillness meditation, which we'll be doing momentarily. Thank you for hanging in there. The 5 steps to stillness begins with an open-eyed concentration on the Sri Yantra. Okay, this is known as gazing. And what this does is, because our eyes are our dominant sense, our eyes, when we focus on something intensely, with the exclusion of all other things, it interrupts our regular thought stream. It interrupts our regular tendencies of mind to daydream, to wander, to think, to be scattered. And so this is a warm-up for the concentration. Now, could you do without step 1? Sure. We could do without it. We can move right to the chakras if we wanted to. There's many different ways to do the meditation. But the 5 steps to stillness is designed to gradually take you from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5. To gradually bring you into stillness. Because let's face it, we all know, if we sat down and we tried to meditate before, that it takes a few moments to settle down. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes, sometimes it takes 20 minutes just to settle down to the point where we can kind of feel that expansion. We can kind of feel the thoughts slow down, the breath slow down. Because we live in such a crazy high-paced world, And even when it's not high-paced, even when we're not out there battling traffic and whatever, we're sitting on our phones, scrolling through like mad men and mad women, looking for those next posts to distract our minds with. So it takes some time to move from where we normally are into a stillness, into a meditative state. So this gradually brings you step by step into a deeper and deeper state of stillness. Now, stillness is the highest frequency, right? Think of it. It's not moving. I always like to equate the good old pendulum swing. You got a pendulum, right? Swinging back and forth. Swing, 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 swing. And this is like our meditation. And as it begins to stop and slow down, all of a sudden it reaches a still point. Boom. See if I can hold that pen still. What happens is this is kind of like our mind. Our mind is constantly moving around, going from place to place. You want to hold it still. It wants to think about something else. Eventually the mind slows down. and it becomes still. We can hold our attention still on a single point. So this is the purpose of the single pointed mind meditation. It's a quick way to cut right through the tendencies of mind. And so what are the benefits besides that? Is that this lasts, this trains your mind. Because normally your mind is like an out of shape body. It's lazy. It's wandering all over the place. There's no discipline to it, right? And it's like if you're a lazy, out of shape body and you go to the gym and, your first gym session, you're huffing and puffing just after 5 or 10 minutes of doing cardio. You can barely lift that 20-pound weight or whatever it is. Just as an analogy, you get the idea. And so what the meditation does is it brings your mind and holds it there. And every single time it moves away, you pull it back and hold it there for as long as you can. This is the repetition. This is what strengthens the willpower. And guess what? This is what you take with you after the meditation, is a stronger mind. A mind that has been brought to a fine point. This changes and transforms your mind. Your mind wasn't always like this. We've collected the mind. We've allowed the mind to become out of shape, to become lazy. And I talk about people who have experience with a technical background, a career in mathematics, engineering, computer science, programming. Anything that requires a very advanced use of the mind. Even someone who's just, let's say, an accountant who is focused for hours on spreadsheets and numbers. You're using your mind. You're concentrating constantly. So you have developed a certain sense of concentration. Usually those types of folks who have technical careers or who even read a lot already have a good sense of concentration. But a lot of us who are somewhat ADD, me included, and don't necessarily have a technical career, in the beginning it may seem difficult and challenging because we haven't used the mind in a way that's so direct, that's so sharp. And that's why I love this technique. It cuts right to it. It gets right to the heart of who and what we truly are, which is our attention, our awareness. Think of it. Are we the body? Well, I have a body. But am I the body? Well, my body is mine, I guess, for a time being. Will it always be? No. We know that it's only a temporary flesh suit situation. I know that's something we don't always like to think about. But, hey, we're all being confronted with death right now. Prematurely. Hey, I didn't want to die so soon. Well, too bad. Maybe tomorrow will be your last day. We never know. This is what life is in the 3D realm. It's called impermanence. And this impermanence is what the Buddha taught. He's like, don't be attached to things that are impermanent because that's what's going to cause suffering. So what happens is that we're born into the world. This is my Sermon on the Mount. This is my Dharma talk. We're born into the world and we are accosted, we are imprinted, we are informed, educated, indoctrinated with all the ideas, the ways, the thoughts, the impressions, even the language, culture, society of where we're born. And what this does is and the identity we're given, the name we're given, the history that we create based on this name. Hey, I saw the pictures. And this becomes a prison. This becomes an attachment. Attachments are like prisons. They're what bind us to a sense of suffering because in our heart of hearts, we know that this will not last. We'd like it to last at least a little while. We all want to have good long lives, healthy lives, productive lives, loving lives. You meet your loved one, you have children, you enjoy what we can enjoy while we can. And I think that's a good thing, is to have that attitude of enjoy it while we can, But meditation gives us options. It gives us ways of not being only in the body, and not being only attached to the senses. The reason why we're attached to the senses, meaning when we sit down, we close our eyes, it's like I'm still looking out of my eyes because I'm used to looking out of my eyes. Does that make sense? It's a habit. It's a tendency of our awareness. It's a tendency of our attention. But you can move your attention. The goal is to have a free attention, an attention that is not bound by anything, an attention that is free to be whatever and wherever. And, it's good times, it's good stuff. Because who wants to be bound up in a limited state? We seek to move beyond limited states of mind. And if you've experienced states of mind beyond the body, altered states of consciousness, through whatever means, you know that it's true, that it is possible to move beyond the five senses, and it is. And so, meditation fulfills many different purposes. It fulfills many different needs. We need to have a sharp mind. We need to have willpower. We need to have a clear mind. We need to have a happy and positive mind. Your mind is so influenced by all external environmental input, from the media to the environment we live in, to the people we surround ourselves with. You know that old saying, you are the product of the 5 people that you surround yourself with? How true is that? It's so true. And so, as meditators, it's good to isolate yourself from those 5 people once in a while and know from your own heart what's true, what's real, and from your own experience what's right and what's wrong, and not have to listen to someone else tell you what's right and what's wrong, what's real and what's true. I've always just been the type to take everything with a grain of salt. It's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to go ahead and test, verify all that for myself before I buy into it 100%. And I think that's a good, wise way to be. And so this is what meditation gives you. It gives you your own personal experience so that you can know from your own experience what's up. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up. All right, folks. I've blabbered on enough for you. I appreciate your patience. Thanks for hanging with me, you guys. Let's get to the meditation, shall we? The 5 steps to stillness is actually a very simple meditation technique. It's like 5 meditations in one. So, we're going to meditate to music. Now, sometimes the music can be a little bit distracting at first. And that's why I'm including it, to distract you. To distract you from yourselves, from your mind. Because our minds are very distractive, which you'll soon find out. But here's the deal, guys. This technique requires some effort. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, a lot of what I say is the same thing, because it's always the same. It's always the same. What have you ever gotten out of life that was worth it, that you didn't have to work for? Did you appreciate it? Did it last long? Now, conversely, when you worked hard for something and you put in a lot of effort and time and consistency and practice, I guarantee whatever that was, you learned from it. It changed you. It was worth it. This is no different. What you put in is what you get out of it. You can kind of scrape by and just kind of like la-di-da with this meditation technique. And, it might alleviate some of the stress and the, it might make you a little more calm. But do you want to transform your mind, change your mind? Meditation is not about just sitting down and feeling good. That's just a byproduct. Meditation, in my opinion, in my experience, and from my tradition, is about transformation. We're transforming from our current raw, rough, gross state into a more purified, more refined, subtle form. Because in order to live on higher dimensional planes on a regular basis, this is what we're all looking for. We're not just looking to like get high for a second, come down, and then be back to our normal, miserable selves afterwards, are we? No. We're looking to transform into a more purified, more refined form, a more evolved form, a more wise form. And all of these things have to do with transforming the mind. It's our minds that are the issue. It's our minds that are getting in the way of all the beauty that we can experience in life, and all the bliss. I don't know about you, but I'd love to feel blissful all the time. So here we go. We're going to talk you through this meditation technique. Have a seat, whether you're sitting in a chair with your back straight or seated on the floor. We begin with step 1. We're going to focus on the yantra with our eyes open. Take a big deep breath. With our yantras in front of us, begin to focus on the central dot of the yantra. Try to hold your gaze steady on the dot. The trick is to forget about everything right now. Nothing else matters. You're going to meditate for 20 minutes and don't worry about anything else going on in the world. Don't worry about yourself. Just focus on the dot. When thought comes in and out of the mind, ignore it. Keep a steady gaze, steady focus on that dot with a laser-like steady stream of attention. Here we go. Breathe naturally throughout the entire meditation. Try to be as still as possible. Really go for it. Now moving on to step 2. Close the eyes. We'll begin with the navel chakra. Just below the belly button, about an inch below. Gently place the tip of your finger to prompt your attention where to move to. Feel the gentle pressure of the fingertip just below the navel. Forget about everything else. The only thing that matters is holding the attention on feeling the chakra. Once you've locked in with your attention on feeling the chakra, the navel, remove the finger and hold your attention still on feeling that spot. Now move your attention up to the heart chakra in the center of the chest. Gently place the fingertip in the center of the chest, pressed lightly. Feel that connection. Now that you've given your attention a location to move to, lock in and hold your attention and feel that spot. When you're ready, remove the finger and hold steady on feeling the energy around the heart chakra. If it's helpful to bring feelings of love, joy, bliss, this may help to open the heart chakra. Or just be inspired by the emotions of the music. attention up to the third eye. Gently place the fingertip between the eyebrows and about an inch above. Feel the subtle impression of the fingertip on the forehead. Relax any tension you might be holding in your forehead or your face. Once you've locked on to that feeling, remove the finger. Continue to hold that feeling on the third eye. Now that we've become still, surrender to that stillness. Let go of all tension. Let go of all energetic contractions. Dissolve into the stillness. slowly open your eyes and return. Take a big deep breath. Stretch out if you need to. Move your body around. There should be a certain sense of after all that. Even if you may have found it challenging to hold your mind still, even if you may have found it challenging to let go or surrender, with every time that you try, you get better. You get more familiar with the practice. And as I said yesterday, it is a practice. We need to practice this because most of the time we're practicing something else. We're not practicing discipline. We're practicing scattered mind. So when we attempt to discipline the mind, holding it still on a chakra, holding the body still, when we come back to our regular state, we notice there's a difference. You're more present in the moment. There's a sense of calm, a sense of relaxation. Now, as I stated earlier, the more you put in, the more you get out. Meaning, the more that you challenge yourself in each session to hold the mind still, unwaveringly, the more benefit. We're working with, hey, thanks Wendy, always appreciate you stopping by, thank you so much. And I always equate it to a workout. The more that you put in, the more you get out. The more intensity that you put in, the more benefits that you're going to get out of it. Because let's face it, we've accrued a lifetime of non-discipline. We've accrued a lifetime of thoughts, impressions, ways of perceiving, attachments to the senses. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take some practice, and it's going to take some effort in the beginning. But as you notice, there's less gross effort as we move up to the subtle and more higher stages of this meditation. What I like to offer as advice is try really hard on step one to hold your gaze on that central dot of the yantra, unwaveringly. Don't even allow your eyes to move 1 micromillimeter. Now, of course, the mind will wander, tendencies, but as soon as you notice that, whoosh, bring your eyes right back to that central dot. Similarly, when we move into the navel chakra, around the navel chakra, you might feel the heat initially when you focus there. Again, there, really push it hard, really try, lock on, no matter what. Then as we move up to the higher chakras, and our minds have settled down, it'll be easier, even though you might not feel a whole lot. Certain days we feel easily, certain days for some reason it's just challenging. Who knows why? But we still bring forth the same effort each and every time, and that's how we get better. The minute we let ourselves get lazy and complacent with this particular technique is the minute we plateau. So what you put into it, you get out of it. If every day I push it just a little bit harder, if I focus just a little bit more intensely, and even if it's just a subtle ability to hold the mind still or to feel. Alright, Ash, thanks brother. Always appreciate you stopping by, my friend. Whether you're holding the mind with a subtle energy, what we learn is that we have these various subtle levels and layers to our own mind. And what we're becoming is more familiar with those abilities on a subtle level. And this subtle awareness will transcend and translate into better memory recall, because memory is a process of attention, of concentration. If you don't have ability to concentrate, it's kind of like remembering a dream. You ever get out of a dream, you wake up, and if you just kind of like stop everything for a second and go back into that dream, you can kind of remember it. That's a similar kind of a subtle memory that we're developing here. The ability to be aware on more and more subtle planes of energy, more subtle planes of awareness. Most people are walking around with their head chopped off. They have, they've got the base of the pyramid, let's say where it's darker brown here, but they don't have any of the upper point. This is the subtle, more refined ability that we develop in this meditation practice. The higher frequency. Okay, so that's what it's all about, is learning to live, learning to be aware on a regular basis of these higher frequencies, these higher states of awareness, higher dimensions, higher consciousness. And with that, my friends, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much again for joining me in today's meditation. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.